The question is isolation, being in isolation necessary for sadhana, for spiritual sadhana? Some Mahatmas say, no, you should live in the world, in the midst of everything, and that will be good. Some people say, no, it's better to be isolated in a forest or in the mountains, and that will be good for you. But what is suited to oneself? That is very important to understand. See, sometimes you go and live in a forest and you are not used to isolation. Then you might get the fear of your life. You might be terrified. After which isolation will again and again, make you remember not a blissful state, but quite the opposite. So what is suitable for you? That is the most important thing. By itself, sadhana does not mean isolation, being isolated, or being in the marketplace. But relative to you, at that point in time, what makes sense to you? That is very important to understand. So when should you be in isolation and when should you mix with the world? It's very practical thing. You'll see isolation need not be extended periods of isolation. It can even be half a day or a few days, a few weeks. And you can grow step by step. First time you try maybe 2 hours of being in isolation. In that you will be able to come to a reasonable level of confidence as you repeat it. Then you take another step forward. It's always to do with where you stand. From there, you take reasonable steps that help you grow in confidence, clarity, stability, peace of mind, and such good qualities. So when is isolation required? Sometimes you will feel being boxed in by the people around you, by the circumstances around you. You feel suffocated. And no matter what you do, you start getting jittery, irritated at everyone, and your nerves are almost going to fly apart. That is a good time to be in isolation. At least at the start of your sadhana. And especially in nature. Because it's not that the situation around you or the people around you are the problem. They are not the problem. It is more to do with your own conditioning. The way you approach things, the way you see people, society, the people around you definitely impose a certain image that they have on you. But depending on your sense of maturity, you can either accept it, ride it, or keep it aside. But if you're not able to keep it aside, that's when you start feeling suffocated. Because your conditioning, your thought conditioning, your habitual way of seeing the world, seeing yourselves, you again and again reinforce what others think you are. And hence that might conflict with what you wish you were. No, it might conflict. Then it's okay to get some period of isolation. But again, the period of isolation depends on your capability to be alone with yourselves and not feeling too lonely about it. No, if you feel lonely, shorter periods of isolation are better. So you will see it's to do with you. What is relevant for you? So you start with something small and slowly you can grow. But isolation definitely helps you think out of the box. This box, think out of it. That might lead to better sense of clarity because you have more space within you for your own growth, for your thoughts to expand. So that leads to a sense of expansiveness about yourself. So that way, isolation is very helpful. And that too, isolation in nature is very, very helpful because you can learn so much from nature. Or isolation in an ashram, or isolation. When I say isolation, it means being by oneself amongst holy people. That also makes so much difference because they don't reinforce your self-image, or they just reflect you as you are. And hence that will give you a sense of freedom and expansiveness for your own growth. After that, you will see that being in a marketplace does not affect you. You are who you are. You will have that reasonable level of cool confidence. Until you gain that, limited periods of isolation are definitely okay. This is to do with self-image and your mental conditioning and so on. But there are other aspects for deeper tapasya. Say, for example, you want to undertake tapasya. It is like doing a PhD. At a critical stage of the PhD, people isolate themselves from all external influences. They will not attend phone calls, they will not attend marriage functions, they will not party, they will not even interact with near and dear ones. They will be fully focused on their research. In the Bhagavad Gita, you would find one of the Daivi Sampati that Bhagavan Krishna mentions. There is qualities of the Devas. One is Vivikta Desha Sevitvam. That means, you seek spaces of isolation that provides you with alone space. That is very, very helpful because then you will see that it helps you grow in the direction that you wish to. At least for limited periods, you adopt that. It's very, very helpful. But what do you do with it? Fundamentally, if you look at it, it's mentioned even in Mahabharata, it's mentioned that rishis who have done such great tapasya, how should they spend their time? What do they even need to do? So it is mentioned that they engage in loka sangraha. As long as the body is there, one's actions are going to be there. And how should the actions be? The actions should be for the benefit of everybody. That's called loka sangraha. So periods of isolation or being the midst of the world all are okay. It depends on you, at what stage of life you are in. What is your deep earning? It depends on that. It cannot be generalized. That's where you need to listen to your heart and gain the support of people around you so that they have sufficient confidence in you to let you lead the life that you see fit for your own benefit and for the benefit of everybody around you.